We're going to begin with an embodied practice, as we often do, only it's going to be a little different. I gotta come down here for this. So our embodied practice is going to be some listening, because ears are part of your body. So to do this, we need to make some noise to listen to. The choir's got a part. You know what to do in a minute. Wait. And if you're worshiping at home, online, I want to make sure that this is really your task to listen to what you can hear during this part. And everyone in the room, I need a little help from you. If you are on this side of the nave, you are going to be doing scroll, tap, tap. Scroll, tap, tap. You got to say it too, okay? Ready? Let's hear it. Ready? Practice it. Scroll, tap, tap. Scroll, tap. All right, and on this side, I hope your feet are working. Breaking news. Let's hear it. Breaking news. All right. Now in a minute, I'm gonna call on your parts. I'll help you build a little bit, but the entire time, we need to be listening to the choir. Oh, choir, you all ready for your magic? All right, go ahead. All right, ready? Scroll, tap, tap. Scroll, tap, tap. Breaking news. Scroll. Come on, use those voices. Breaking news. Scroll, tap, tap. Scroll, tap, tap. Loudest. Thank you very much. We'll come back to that in a minute. So don't forget what you just heard. But we are going to celebrate today Holy Humor Sunday. There will be streamers. There are bubbles. You may have even noticed that the bulletin was printed in Comic Sans. We did that on purpose. If you are a designer, we apologize for annoying you with that font choice. Now today, Holy Humor Sunday, you might be wondering, I missed that in the liturgical calendar. Well, there could be a reason. Back in the 17th century, Pope Clement X prohibited the practice of Holy Humor Sunday, or Risus Paschalis, as it was called. Risus Paschalis, the Easter laugh. This was the Sunday after Easter, and it had become the tradition in the church that in the Sunday after Easter, it was Holy Humor Sunday, Bright Sunday, the Easter laugh, as if God got the last laugh on the devil all along. It was the Sunday when we would recognize God's prank on the devil. He's risen! And so in churches, sometimes they would play pranks on the priests. Just checking, making sure nothing's going to happen. And often in the season after Easter, priests would begin their sermons with some sort of a light laughter story that would get a spirit of laughter in the space until Pope Clement thought that those stories and jokes were getting out of hand. Or maybe he just didn't like laughter, I don't know. But that brings us to today, and a practice we have been having at Riverside. I would say every Sunday we bring some laughter and levity, but especially today. The bubbles, the streamers, the Comic Sans, it all comes out. And this is a day that got me thinking. I had to research for this sermon, which meant I had to go watch a lot of stand-up comedians. I went and saw Taylor Tomlinson in Cleveland. It was great. I watched everything I could on Dropout. It's a fantastic. Game Changer's my favorite. I watched every Pete Holmes clip on TikTok I could find. Scroll, tap. I made sure I immersed myself in the world of comedy. And I learned something. Sometimes people don't get the joke. And sometimes they do. There's this punchline. I almost thought about this sermon being a theology of the punchline. Do you get the joke? You could say that all of life is comedy or tragedy. And this story we've been immersed in the past week to today, definitely Good Friday, tragedy, Easter, comedy. It takes a turn. And as people in the wake of Easter, Holy Humor Sunday is a good spirit for us to hold. And so with all of that, I thought today's sermon would be called The Divine Joke. What is the divine joke? That's the question we are going to explore in 3 parts. I want to make sure you get this joke. I don't want this going over anyone's head. I want us all to feel the punchline. What is the divine joke? Well, it begins in the story we heard from Luke. We've been in Luke a long time. This is the last week in Luke. We're right at the end of the book. And today's story happens the same day, Sunday, that we call Easter. 2 friends returning home, traveling from Jerusalem to a town called Emmaus, a 7-mile walk. That's like walking from right here in the nave down to West 4th Street, down to Washington Square Park. So yeah, it's a walk, not impossible, 7 miles. A little more than a 10K if you're a runner. And as they're walking, a stranger joins them. Now imagine their spirit on that walk. They haven't heard all the story. They weren't here for Reverend Thorne's sermon last Sunday. They don't know how the story ends. They're still in the middle of it. And for them, they even tell this stranger, "Do you not know the things that have been happening in Jerusalem? Do you not know that the one we thought was God's chosen, the one who was going to show us the way, has been killed? Apparently, the way to life turned into death, tragedy." They are at their lowest. They are expecting no good news at this point. And so they walk and they walk and they walk from here all the way to Washington Square Park. They make their 7-mile walk, and as they get close to Emmaus, they indicate this is where they're staying, and the stranger, who's not really a stranger, indicates he's going to go on further, and they convince this stranger to come and share a meal with them. Now, we know this story. We just heard it. In their moment of the lowest of lows, of expecting no good news, all they know is the one they had followed was killed. In the moment when they least expected it, that is when they found God. They met Christ in the common, in this stranger walking with them, the divine in the daily, the breaking of bread, a thing we all do every day, a simple meal, the sacred in the mundane. It's in that moment of the lowest of lows, when they weren't expecting it at all, that they found God. And that, I believe, is the divine joke. That you can find God, that you can be surprised by hope, especially when you least expect it. What does it mean to find God, to be surprised by hope when you least expect it? Okay, part 2. I got to come down this way. Now, there are 2 books of Revelation. What? Revelation? No, not the end of the Bible, that book. We'll get into that this summer. Wait for it. What I'm talking about is, in theology, we talk about revelation, the way in which God is revealed. And in the Christian tradition, I'm not making this up, it goes back to John Calvin, to Aquinas, even many more before them. There are 2 books of Revelation. One of them, let's see, I think there's one right here in the back of the pew. Let's see. Yep, here we go. Here it is. This is one of the books of Revelation. You all see one in front of you. Everyone at home, you got one of these somewhere probably. This is one of the books of Revelation. This is a book that reveals God to us. But there's another one. What is the other book of Revelation? No, I think the best way to learn about that is a song. Let's go. All right, so we're all going to be the choir today. We got choirs in the house. welcome to the choir. You are in. I'm going to sing a line, and then you're going to repeat after me, and we're going to put it all together. You might know this one. Okay, here we go. I'll get us started. This is my Maker's world. This is my Maker's world. And to my listening ears, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. Okay, your turn. All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. Okay, stop. What did we just say? All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres? Do you ever pause and think about all these wonderful lyrics that are buried in our hymnals? This one is one of my favorites. All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. This comes from a couple ancient mathematicians. Pythagoras is one of them. You might know him for his Pythagorean theorem, but we're not finding the right angle of a triangle right now. And it also was developed later by Kepler, who you might know from other astronomical things. The music of the spheres, the idea was that the spheres, the planets, the stars, all these things in the universe, what if they're making noise? What sound do they make as they rotate and orbit? And one theory that Pythagoras developed was that what if all these celestial spheres are always making a noise, only it's been happening all the time? You were born into a world with the music of the spheres, so you don't even notice it. What you think is silence is actually the music of the spheres. These sounds that are always and already here, no matter how much noise there might be. All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. Okay, let's finish the song. This is where it gets big, so use your big voices. This is my Maker's world. This is my Maker's world. I rest me in the thought. Rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. God's hands the wonders wrought. Your turn. Of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. God's hands the wonders wrought. Fantastic. We're going to put it all together in a minute. But that last line again. Rocks, seas, skies, trees. Might have mixed that up there. God's hands the wonders wrought. We don't use the word wrought very often unless we're referring to the bananas that were left out too long and now need to become banana bread because they have wrought. Different spelling. This is W-R-O-U-G-H-T. And it's a word that comes from the word work. Or really, it would be a blacksmith pounding the metal. Bang, that sound. There is someone involved in shaping this creation. The rocks and trees and skies and seas. God's hands, the wonders, bang, wrought. This song is telling us that second book of Revelation. Let's sing it. Now, I want to give a little bit of a beat. Let's get a little, can we do that? All right, choir, you in with me here? You're my drummers, so keep a nice steady beat. Here we go. This is my Maker's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres. Big part. This is my Maker's world. I rest me in the thought trees of skies and seas, God's hands the wonders wrought. Big finish! This is my Maker's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, God's hands the wonders wrought. Well done, choir. You're in. So the first book of Revelation is this one. But the second book is all around us. Calvin, Aquinas, so many others tell us there are 2 books of Revelation, 2 books that reveal God. The Bible, our sacred text, yes, but let's not forget to read that other sacred text as well. Creation, the rocks and trees and skies and seas, the music of the spheres, all of this around us, the thing that's buried beneath the concrete, the weeds that refuse to be kept down, all of this reveals God. And it makes me think that perhaps the most spiritual thing you could do, well, maybe top of the list isn't going to church. Maybe top of the list isn't reading your Bible. Maybe top of the list isn't saying your prayers. What if the most spiritual thing you could do is to go outside? Hey, everyone online, go open a window. Go feel the fresh air. Look at the clouds. Imagine the shapes they're making. Go plant a tree. Go pick something from a garden. Look at the stars at night. Take off your shoes and let them feel the earth, the sand, the waves. Because in doing that, we find God revealed to us. There are a lot of places, a lot of religious traditions that like to contain God. Put you in a box with a steeple on top. A really tall one sometimes. God cannot be contained. Not even to this book. Not even to this tradition. Not even to my theology. These books of Revelation remind me what the divine joke is. God can't be contained, but God is constantly revealed. Anyone who tries to contain God is just trying to keep their power in check. But God will always be bigger than any box because the universe keeps on expanding. God's like, see ya, I'm over here too. The good news, the divine joke, God can't be contained. God is constantly revealed. Which brings us to part 3. Naturally, you all saw this coming, a theology of Bluey. For those online, this is a book I took from my kids' bedroom, Lauren and Kai. I'll bring it home, I promise. We have 2 of them, don't worry, 2 of the books. This book is a seek and find book. So if you don't know who Bluey is, first off, that's your homework for today. Bluey is not a kids show. It's a show for people that kids enjoy as well. Saying, go watch Sleepy Time or cricket or camping and you will be in tears. So good. In this book, you have to find Bluey. Okay, that's easy. My kids can handle that. They showed you the picture, you find it. But in every episode of Bluey and on every page of this book, there's a secret. The creators of the show put a little tiny illustration. Let me see. My kids can find it better than I can. Okay, right here. Do you see that little sketch? It's this little long wiener dog that's called a long dog. A long dog. So in every single episode, somewhere in the episode is long dog. And on every single page of this book, somewhere in here is long dog. Now, I can't always find long dog, but my 4.5-year-old can. And once he finds long dog, he wants to keep looking for long dog on every page. He'll pause the show. Look, Dad, I found long dog. Somewhere tucked away in each of these pages, in each episode of Bluey, is long dog. Did you catch the sermon in that already? There's a story in the book of Exodus about a shepherd who stumbles upon a bush that just keeps burning. He goes up to it, and the bush starts talking and says, "Take off your shoes, you're standing on holy ground." When did the ground become holy? Perhaps it was holy the whole time, and the shepherd just hadn't paused to notice. Long dog is always there. There's another story in Genesis. This kid is running from home, afraid for his life, exhausted at his lowest of lows, so tired he decides to use a rock for a pillow. He has a dream where he hears Led Zeppelin playing Stairway to Heaven, and he wakes up and says, "Surely God was in this place, and I did not know." The ground is always holy. The rocks are always revealing God. The Gospel of John begins saying, "He was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not recognize him." You don't always notice the long dog until you start looking for the long dog. And once you do that, when you start looking for long dog on every page, every episode, you start finding long dog more than you ever could have imagined. This is the divine joke. When you start looking for God everywhere, you just might start finding God everywhere. Take off your shoes, the ground's already holy. Every page, every day. Now, the road to Emmaus is not just a story in Luke, but I think it's an experience we all have. Those times when we find God in the moments we least expect. What are the roads to Emmaus that you have walked? I sure know the ones I've walked. Now, you know I have a phenomenal wife, 2 amazing kids, talked all about them already this morning. Before this chapter of my life, I was married previously. And on the day that marriage ended, that was a road to Emmaus for me. Now, I'm not going to tell you all the details of the separation and divorce. That's for therapy, not for you. But I will tell you about the road to Emmaus I found myself on and how I found God in an unexpected place that day. I didn't know what to do, because you don't always know what to do when your world is literally reoriented and rearranged and the rug is taken out from under your feet and you're like, no, which way is up? But I knew how to put on my running shoes, and I knew how to get onto the trail by the Hudson River, and I knew how to put one foot in front of the other and run underneath the George Washington Bridge, past the little red lighthouse, and down right to this neighborhood, actually. I wasn't coming to Riverside at that day 10 years ago. I was going to Union Seminary, where some of my best friends lived. Reverend Amanda Meisenheimer, who used to be one of our ministers here, was studying at Union at the time. I've been friends with her for decades. I ran to her house to see her and her family. Because sometimes in those moments when you don't know what to do or which way is up, you just got to be around people who can hold you. So I went there, and you might think, oh, that's great. Jim found God in an unexpected place at his best friend's house. Yeah, but no, that's not this story. I don't know what we did that afternoon. They probably offered me a drink or something and sat there, and I just remember sitting there, and eventually they were like, well, got to go pick up our kids from school. You want to come? Sure, I don't know what else I'm going to do today. So we make our way from Union's seminary housing, get on the 1 train, go up to Washington Heights where the kids went to school, and we're standing there waiting for the kids to come out. This is 10 years ago, so Amanda's son Ralph was much younger than he is now, like 8, 9, 10-year-old, and he sees me not knowing what my day has been, not knowing how my world has changed, and he sprints up to me, Jim, wraps his arms around me and gives me a hug like only a kid that age can. No clue what I'm holding, no clue how my world had changed. And in those unexpected moments, you still might find God. This is the divine joke. Our lives are filled with so much. Our world is filled with so much noise. Scroll, tap, 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 breaking news. Everywhere we look, we are distracted. Our attention is pulled this way and that way. We can't even keep our eyes on one atrocity because they either invent or cause or show us another just to take our attention from here to there. We are exhausted by it all. Yet in the midst of it, do you remember hearing the choir sing that note? Steady, constant. They never stop singing that note. It's some trick that choirs can do where they just keep the note going. In the midst of all the noise, do we hear that music of the spheres? How will you find God today, this week, this year, the next 3 years and 7 months or so? How will you reveal God to others? The divine joke is not just passive where you get to laugh at the punchline, but you are invited, called, compelled to participate in this joke so that others get it too. This, finding God, revealing God, this is what it means to be a part of the divine joke. Amen.